Welcome to the Sacred 8 Roadshow, where cosmic love meets conscious living.
We're Zsuzsi and Nikki, partners in life and purpose, and we're so glad you're here.
This podcast is a space for truth tellers, heart healers, and those walking the path of deep love and self-remembrance.
We'll explore human design, emotional wisdom, and the real work of conscious relationship.
And we're proudly sponsored by Hello Zia, your 24/7 AI relationship coach for healing, growth, and sacred love.
Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our sacred circle. We're so excited to have you back with us. Again, my name is Zsuzsi. I'm a human design guide. I'm a spiritual teacher, a writer, a speaker, and now podcast host.
And I'm Nikki, and I'm an ex-government badass turned soulpreneur. And my expertise is helping you get to the root of what your emotional triggers are so that you can heal and lead your best, most aligned life.
Fabulous. So today we want to share with you not the origin story of how we met, that was episode 1, but instead we are going to take it a little further back to talk about how our healing journeys began, because believe it or not, we did not come out of the womb knowing how to do shadow work and uncover our blocks and things like that. So we wanted to share with you how it all started, because for most people it is potentially a rock bottom or a dark night of the soul that really starts that journey. And for me, that was around 30. So we will be talking about human design a lot during this podcast. But suffice to say that the Saturn return is a really tumultuous time for everyone. Saturn return happens to everyone around 30, but there are some individuals for whom this is especially bumpy. So one of the things that I really started to uncover through my human design journey is just how common it is for those of us who have a 6th line in our profile to hit a wall. We are not here to hold on to the things that we built in our lives up until 30. So when they start slipping away, when we feel like we're losing control of them, it just becomes this tug of war within yourself. So 2 things were major catalysts for my awakening. The first thing is that around 30, I was married to somebody who I had what I would consider to be a fairly average relationship with, but it started to become obvious that we weren't emotionally or sexually compatible, let's just say. And no, this isn't because I am actually gay. I did not cover that until later.
There were signs, though.
There were signs. And in order to cope with the fact that I wasn't feeling seen, heard, or supported in that relationship, I stepped outside of the relationship and then convinced myself that the person that I was having an affair with was the person I was supposed to be in a relationship with. So I was constantly having to sneak around and lie while at the same time trying to convince this other person that we should be together. And it was a very painful, very misaligned experience. For anybody who's gone through something like that, my heart goes out to you, because not only are we like the villains in our own story, but then we become the villain in everyone else's, when we're really just trying to cope with whatever tools we have, which were very limited at the time, let's just say. And while all of this was happening, I was also running my very first business. So I owned a brick and mortar beauty studio in Manhattan, New York, in the East Village. And it was called Jolie Beauty Bar. We catered to women who were going out at night, who had big events to go to, weddings, things like that. And it was all in an attempt to become independent, and B, to empower women, because there wasn't really gathering spaces for women in New York. There was always some sort of like networking component to these gatherings. And so we wanted it to be a little bit more casual than that. And I think we succeeded. My business partner, Sade, and I did a really amazing job of creating an atmosphere that was relaxed and fun. But on the inside, I was feeling a lot of pressure to perform. This was the girl boss era, so it was definitely about hustle culture and working too hard, and there wasn't anything gentle or feminine about it. So I got really burnt out over the course of 4 years while simultaneously going through this thing totally behind the scenes. Nobody knew that I was having an affair. I didn't share that information with anyone. So I was keeping everything bottled up, and I felt like a soda can that's been shaken up about to explode. When a colleague of mine called and told me about a program called Landmark, which if you start Googling it, it auto populates to Landmark Cult. But we'll do a whole episode about cults at a later date. So Landmark is what they call a large group awareness seminar, and it's really the baseline for everything that I have done since. You really uncover some like unconscious blocks that you have during this program, and it's also very much about keeping your integrity. So realizing that I had been out of integrity for so long really helped me to understand that I need to make it right. And I started really unraveling everything in my life. And 6 months later is when I met Human Design. I had left my business and started working for a biohacking spa in Lower Manhattan. It was down the street from where I had had my salon. And, you know, there was a lot of woo-woo stuff going on in there. Everybody introduced themselves by telling you their sign and things like that. So, of course, when somebody came in and said that they do human design, I was like, yeah, just another thing to add to my list of things that I need to know. And human design actually was head and shoulders above everything else I had ever done or heard of. I ended up getting a reading from the man who would become my teacher, and it just completely blew my socks off, turned my life upside down. It really helped me to relax because I felt like I had completely messed up everything and had missed the boat in some way. I know a lot of people feel that way in their Saturn return time because it feels like you're starting over, but really you're not starting over from scratch. You're starting over with the wisdom that you've gathered. It's just that you're here to turn those mistakes into wisdom. So I started working with my teacher almost immediately after that, and left my first husband, created lots of space in my life for rest because I really desperately needed it. I moved to upstate New York for some time to try and sort myself out while I was studying the system. And, you know, I've been working with women ever since, helping them to find that same permission that human design granted me. And whenever I share any part of this journey, because obviously you're getting the Cliff's Notes right now, when I share any part of this journey with people, they're always amazed at how open I am about the mistakes that I made. And that's actually very much a part of my design, to be forthcoming about the like utter failures of my process, because it truly is such a deep source of wisdom. And it also makes people feel a lot less alone, right? I felt like the reason I was so embarrassed about those things is because I had become a statistic and a cliche. But those statistics and cliches exist for a reason, because these are our go-to coping mechanisms for the way that we approach things. Like, I was drinking very heavily during my Saturn return time because I needed to numb out. I eventually ended up being prescribed lots of medication to help me sleep and just get through the day, quite frankly. So it was really one of those like make it or break it moments for me. And I just had to pick myself up from my bootstraps and just dust myself off and try again. So here we are.
Well, as I'm listening to you tell this story, it's interesting to me how many keynotes you've hit. When you talk about dark night of the soul or rock bottom, and then you talk about misaligned and integrity, and we talk a lot about the feather, the hammer, and the truck, right? So all the dark night of the soul or a rock bottom is you continuing on that path of being misaligned and not following what your heart's true desire and your higher soul's purpose is, living out of integrity, not making decisions based on love. And it eventually just gets to the point where you're a rock bottom. So you had the feather at some point that told your nervous system, this isn't aligned with me. And when that feather didn't work, you got a little harder hit with the hammer. So now you're on medications. And then the truck is, in your case, a subway.
Well, I didn't
or
get
almost.
hit. I didn't get hit by a subway,
It was
but
a balancing act.
But
but you see what I'm saying? And that's what the story is for everyone. And it varies in degree of the intensity and I don't know.
Yeah, but I think that anybody who's gone through that and is out on the other side can see how that was actually the best thing that ever happened to them.
Absolutely. And you're right about telling the story and not being alone, because I can remember leaving my last relationship and really struggling with the complexities of it, and going to TikTok and hearing people with the same exact stories and experiences. And I was going, okay, so this is how they got through it. So I know I can get through it.
Yeah, and there are things that I truly thought at the time were going to kill me. So the fact that I'm still not just alive, but thriving is a testament to the human spirit, I believe. And it's really why I want to hold up that mirror for people so that they can see their own magnificence, even through those dark clouds that may be blocking them from seeing that about themselves.
Was there ever a point where you could like feel something inside of you that told you there was something better out there? Or was it the encounter with the phone call that said, hey, I have this program and I don't know why I thought of you, but you should go? Was it actually, the universe stepping in and saying that and you hearing that? Or was there always this little piece of you inside that was like, something's wrong?
I don't know if I was fully aware that there was something wrong. I feel like there was, I was always looking for something or someone to save me. If I'm completely honest. And I didn't know what the form of that savior was going to be, but it was one of those like fairy godmother things that I was waiting for, the bippity boppity boop of like, here, let me just come and solve all of your problems. And it's both empowering and enraging once you realize that you're your own fairy godmother and you're the only one who can save you.
The universe will always extend you an olive branch, but it's up to you to take it. It's like that saying where you can lead a horse to water, but only the horse can choose to drink it.
Absolutely. So it was when I got that phone call where I was like, oh, this might be that silver bullet. And in a way it was, but even a silver bullet can't fix it for you. It can be a huge catalyst. And like I always say, you know, I think Landmark opened the door, like cracked it open, and then human design like kicked it in. It was like, you know, the Kool-Aid man like busting through and being like, pay attention, there's more than you think there is. I think the universe only gives you what it knows you can handle. So I'm really happy that it didn't start with human design, because I don't think I would have been paying attention in the way that I was able to once human design finally came in. And a lot of the time that's, you know, the experience of many, that you start with something as simple as like therapy, you know, somebody helping you organize your thoughts in a way that you've never organized them before, or naming your feelings. That's why I don't write therapy off. I think it's an entry point, but it's not the whole point. There are so many deeper layers. And even human design, I didn't stop with human design, right? I started opening the Akashic records after I met human design a few years later. And then, you know, further and further and further down the rabbit hole. And I'm not convinced that I've gone as deep as it's possible to go. We'll talk about this definitely, but the gate of depth is a big part of why I do the work that I do. And I don't want to have surface level conversations at all. That's why I feel like I will always want to get to the deepest point in any system, the deepest point in any modality, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, you're talking about human design, Landmark, therapy is what we call the toolbox. You've got your bag, your tool bag that you're carrying around with you, and you've got all these different tools that you never know which one's going to fit for the right situation. But the more you have, the better off you are in being able to respond to those. And one of the big things is being able to just name your emotions. We went through so much life of all these big emotions and not even being able to understand what it is we're feeling. I mean, it starts when we're a kid. You see kids like smacking their head or screaming and throwing themselves on the ground. It's because they're experiencing so much emotion. They don't even know what to do with it, how to communicate it. And as parents, we're just learning ourselves how, I'm not a parent, but parents are just learning themselves how to identify their emotions. So being able to translate that, so you see how it goes from all the way from the time you're a little kid to your adult years, where you're not, at some point you have to learn to just name the emotion. And then you can start to go, okay, well, how do I process that? How do I let that go? How do I understand why I'm doing the things I'm doing?
Yeah, and I put everything in the anxiety box. Everything was anxiety. So to be able to distinguish and understand the difference between an emotion and something that your mind is creating, the loops, the thought loops that you can't seem to
oh my gosh,
get out of, those are the things that I feel really helped me to just like freaking relax. Like I could not relax. I could not sleep. I couldn't function without taking something. And the fact that I haven't taken a pill or felt the need to get drunk in a really long time, better part of 7 years now, took actually 2 full years off from having a single drink. That was really refreshing. And, you know, understanding that everything is a balance. So,
and fear is an illusion.
And fear is an illusion, indeed. So it's your turn, my dear. You like how I switched those
tables? You my deepest, darkest secrets.
Well, like I said, it's very particular to me to want to share those deep, dark things. And I understand that not everybody is that way, because we're all different and unique. Imagine that.
What's my chart say about that?
that you potentially hold things a little bit closer to the chest as a fourth line.
Oh. Oh, okay, because I don't know if they're all confidants. Oh.
But we will go as deep as it will allow.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if you want to look at anyone's life, there you can, if you get to a point where you've done the work, you can start to reflect back and go, okay, well, these little pieces were put in place for a reason. For me, it started probably when I was 16, when my grandfather passed. And for 4 years before that, he was really sick. And you got to understand, he was like my father. And we didn't process emotions in my house. It was pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get on with your life. Because there's no time to self-pity. There's no time for any of that. And my grandpa, I spent almost every day with him. Definitely every weekend. We were playing sports. He was my coach. He took me to all the games. I was on traveling teams. He taught me more in 16 years than any other human has taught me in the course of my life. And I'm 42 now. So just the basics of life, even math. Like I remember sitting down doing math tables, and he'd get a stopwatch out and time me on how fast I could go through them, because he wanted me to be prepared for life. But what he didn't prepare me for was his death or anyone else's death. So I struggle really a lot with grief and losing people, and it started there. I can remember him saying, the only reason I'm around is because you're here. And that's what keeps me going.
Soul contract.
Yeah, definitely. And he's remained one of my guides since. But, you know, he transitions. I don't cry. I actually laugh at his funeral because my sister's crying so hard. I didn't know what even emotions were. And I just kind of go numb for the next 20 years of my life. I joined the military at 24. It was something he had done. My brother was going to go, so I was like, I'm going to go. And as I get into boot camp and technical school, it's in those moments that I realized the codependent relationship I had with my mother. And breaking that bond and what that was like. Turns out joining the military was one of the best decisions I could have done for my personal journey. Living away from home, away from family, I really started to develop my own personality and my own self-image, right? I got to go and do things. I was living life. After the military, I moved to Philadelphia. I was out there by myself completely. There's a little anxiety there with that, but I had the greatest neighbors and the greatest friends. And then my sister got in a car wreck, and I thought I should move home and help the family. So I actually ended up taking a job that was a demotion to get back home. And then I ended up working extra, trying to make up that pay difference. And only to find out that that's not something you can help with. That was their journeys, you know? So, but in the meantime, my sister has a kid, which is my niece. And I was like, well, I'm going to stick around and see if I can assist her and her growth and being with her.
So just
right?
to be clear, you have two sisters.
Oh,
One
yes.
got in a car accident. The other had a baby.
Yes, that's probably... I have 3 sisters, actually, and a brother. But the 2 that were living in Indiana at the time were both my mom's kids. The youngest one got in a car wreck. She was 16. And my other sister that had the baby was 25. So I'm helping her, trying to help her process things. In the meantime, I get in this other relationship, and guess what? I hadn't dealt with the codependencies of other relationships. So that one ends up being codependent. Only she wasn't my mom. And I spiraled with this one. I was so upside down between the gaslighting and everything else that went with that. That getting out of it took some real effort, mentally mostly. And that mental health aspect is what led me through therapy. That was a gateway for me. But what I found in therapy was all I did was bitch the whole time. This is what's happening, blah, 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 blah. And so it didn't really feel like I was getting the tools I needed at the time I thought it was my behavior. right? I thought, I need to learn conflict resolution skills. I need to learn something that can help me
Pacify.
not just pacify, but get along with, understand. Maybe there's something we're not understanding about each other. I thought that therapy was going to fix us.
Mm-hmm.
And when that turned out to be just a bitch session, I was like, this isn't working. This is not what I came here for. And then I ended up getting into the realm of soul integration, Theo. Soul integration is a certification you get through the Theo group. That's Sheila Gillette and channels Theo, who's a collective of 12 archangels. And they have all these mentorship programs that I've taken, almost every one of them. And they really just teach you how to start flipping your mindset. And I started week 1 in a relationship. By week 4, I had my own apartment. So things drastically just kind of flipped upside down, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really went into the dark night of the soul. Because I had to figure out me all over again, only this time I was doing it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just remember I would get out of bed only to journal to find a reason to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's how deep it went. I had no idea. I didn't really have a reason.
Sure.
And then I went on this, why did this happen to me? Like, not why did this relationship happen to me, but why did I get in this state mentally and emotionally? Because that wasn't me. And I look back and I asked you this question earlier about the little thing inside of you. That was me. I had that little light inside of me that even in the worst times within that relationship, I'd be walking on vacation somewhere and I'd hear this little whisper, you deserve better than this. It was myself.
Of course.
And I think sometimes we ignore that.
Sure.
Because the enemy of great is good. And we think just because it's a little better than what we've known, then this is good enough. And we're afraid to take the step for great.
Well, like I said, there's those of us who understand that inherently, and there's those of us who feel like we're almost the ones who are responsible for grinding it out. Yes, it's a relief to understand that we are both the cause and solution to all of our own problems. But when I was going through those really dark times or feeling in that really, really low state, it really was like trying to find something outside of myself to fix it. Whereas you, I feel, already kind of inherently knew that it was up to you.
Is that a trauma response?
Should we journal on that?
Do I need to deep dive on that? Because, like, in my mind, the way that sounded and feels is that I immediately thought it was my fault and I could fix it. If I did enough work on myself, I could fix it. And you do, just not in the way you think. So by going to work on myself, I became whole within myself. I was able to fill my own cup, really step out of my shell, become my fullest version, which led me to you.
Sure. But I think that there's an interesting point that kind of both of us went through, is that we were still trying to fix what was happening instead of recognizing that it was time to leave those things behind.
Even after 2 therapists told me we should break up.
I mean, nobody was... Actually, that's not true. People were telling me to leave my business behind, but I was really dug in, and my identity was too wrapped up in, well, but this is who I am now, and if I'm not this, then who am I? And I said I was going to do this. I can't go back on my word now. People are depending on me.
We get so attached, especially to other humans, but you see it in hoarders. They get attached to things, trying to replace that emotional aspect. And then we get attached to people and we don't want to let them go. It's very interesting.
It seems counterintuitive to stay in a relationship for the other person. Like, I should just be able to figure this out or move through the uncomfortable emotions so that they can have a better experience of life. And that is a trauma response.
I remember thinking I had tried to leave a couple of times or break up a couple of times, and I just would be drawn right back in, and my emotional wave would go, oh no, what have I done? You know, like in the high, you're like, yes, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need to do. And then you go a couple days or a week or a month, and all of a sudden you're like, and so I remember thinking after trying to leave a couple of times and I couldn't, I was like, she's going to have to break up with me. I'm going to have to do something to make her break up with me because I can't do this on my own.
And why do you believe that you can't do it on your own?
I bet it has something to do with my human design. Insert commercial.
What if you had a user manual for your life? That's what human design offers. A personalized map of how you're wired to make decisions, use your energy, and live in alignment. It's wildly accurate and deeply affirming and freakishly useful. Start with a free chart or 5-page report at hdbyz.com. It's the perfect intro. Ready to go deeper? Book a one-on-one reading with me and get a video recording plus practical, personalized insight. And for the full deep dive, check out my Human Design Master Suite, a workshop series designed to help you actually live your design. Get started today. Find my contact info in the show notes below. And now back to our show. Honestly, that's not where I was going.
Oh.
Because that's the cornerstone of being in a relationship like that, is you do believe that life will not go on, or that it actually can't get any better than this.
Oh, I knew it could get better, though. I knew it could get better. Because I remember the whole time I'm going, this could be so much easier, and this could be really freaking amazing.
So, for the potential of it.
Yes. And it was so clear to me what that potential was.
Wow.
And I was determined to prove it.
And 70% of the population is not here to prove anything. And even if you are, it's not to your own detriment. You're never here to prove anything if it goes against what your true alignment is.
So, learning to be your true authentic self and allowing people to come in and out of your life is one of the hardest but most rewarding things ever. You just that being able to trust that as you act in your whole aligned self, that the right people will find you. And in the meantime, you get to hang out with yourself, which is amazing.
You can't miss something that was meant for you.
No, you cannot. Even if it goes by you and it's supposed to be for you, it'll come back around and smack you upside the head and go, hi. Or you'll chase it around the country for your whole life until you run into each other in the weirdest place ever.
That's part of our origin story with the breadcrumbs that we left each other. We always lived about 3 hours away from each other, wherever we were.
3 hours or less, no matter where we were, until she moved to California and I was still in Indiana. But interestingly, when you did move to California, the same month you moved to Mount Shasta, I was in San Francisco visiting the exact same time. And I knew when I visited San Francisco, I'd been to Southern California. I already knew I wanted to come out here. And then I went to San Francisco and I was like, oh, I could do this too. It's by the water. I love it. And then I decided at some point I was going to move to Hawaii. And I had no idea why, but I knew it was calling me. And then we meet and you're like, I'm in Mount Shasta. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not Hawaii. And that has snow. But then to find out that Hawaii and Mount Shasta have that connection. And that was so wild. I'm like, so many synchronicities. Like my soul was like, yeah, we're too far apart. We got to get closer. You know? Wild.
We knew. Our souls knew.
Our souls knew.
We just weren't aware. And that's the thing, is you are that's the one thing that you can never know from the Akashic records, your guides, your angels. Any channel cannot tell you why you're going through something at this exact moment. You'll find out later why that was necessary. And to be honest, I started at 30, or I started this story with 30, but truly our stories began when we were born. And we have been like working our way to this point right now, this entire time. Every single thing that's ever happened to you, every memory that you have has a purpose. And only when you understand that, or only when you fully embody and integrate that, can you understand that like nothing is a coincidence. Things are not happening to you. That's a big one. I was constantly the victim of my own story. Woe is me. Why am I experiencing this? And that's like a good martyr thing to go through. That phase is so real. The keynote of the martyr is so deeply ingrained in me. But I know that there's no victims in reality, and there's no bad decisions in reality. And I don't even get to, it's almost like waiting to open a present now. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see how that really big fuck up is going to serve me in my present moment of right now. It's like magical when it finally comes full circle and you're like, oh, I see what you did there, universe.
My mom was always big on everything happens for a reason, and there's always signs to help guide you. But I think it's interesting because we know that we're coming out of this paradigm of victimhood where we've spent so much time. But what we don't talk about is that victimhood is actually a triangle, right? So you've got the victim, the perpetrator, which, so in this case, you were the victim.
Life was the perpetrator.
Life in the universe was the perpetrator. And you were looking for your savior. The savior's that third piece of the triangle. And I was always trying to live that savior role. I was always trying to help people and help them realize that they could have an easier life, or they could be something different, healthier, or I'm trying to think of some of the places where I've done this, like proving to them that they're lovable by loving them so hard that I was taken from myself. And so healing that part of me and being able to step back into that observer role to where I understand now that everybody's on their own journey. And I can put this information out and I can help you if you come to me and you want it in response.
Imagine that.
And if they don't take it or they don't align with it, they're never going to hear the message. Just like you wouldn't have heard human design if it wouldn't have came in exactly when it did. You wouldn't have been aligned to receive it. So they have to be receptive of it. And then being able to go, this is everybody, everything that's happened to everybody is their own soul growth and for their expansion. So instead of going, oh my God, ooh, oh, you're like, oh, isn't that interesting? Look what they've created for themselves. Well, that's one way to learn.
I'm opting out of that way.
Pass.
I would love to learn from ease and grace from now on.
Yes. Everything with ease and grace.
Learning through love and all of that.
Yes.
It's preferential, let's just say.
And if I need to learn a lesson, let me do it in my sleep when I'm not conscious of it. In my human form.
Absolutely.
Because my spiritual form can learn a lot better and not take personal.
And really, this is why I've been called an alchemist many times, and I didn't want to own that as much as I feel like I can now. To take something that was very painful, something that was incredibly difficult to go through, and seeing how it can add value to other people's experience.
And again, the people that are aligned will find you and hear that, and it'll be Sometimes it'll be that savior they were looking for in one way, that they hear it and they get to apply it themselves. But again, they can hear your message and they can deal with it, or they can do nothing with it and just hear and keep going. I think it's really important to note that when you're going to, because we have a lot of teachers, and we love getting readings from people, even if they're impromptu and we don't even ask for them. But I think it's important to note that they should not be your only source. And you shouldn't depend on them for the information, because you have free will and you can choose whatever you want. So being able to go inside and connect with your own guidance, your own higher self, to use that information to guide your life.
Everything else is just a suggestion.
Yes.
And on that note, I think this is a great place to wrap it up. It's been wonderful convening here with all of you. We will be sharing stories from others in the future of their awakening, because those are really the most interesting parts of people's journey. And to see what tools they used and how they alchemized their own lessons so that they can be of service to humanity.
Yeah, and then we're going to bring in our third co-host, Zia, to insert her into the conversation, to get her opinion on some different healing modalities, maybe some journal prompts or some meditations, or just an idea of what she thinks about us, the world, and everything going on.
It'll be a great jumping off point, and we can't wait to see how it all gels together. Until next time, guys, we love you.
See you later. Thank you for joining us in this sacred circle.
If today's conversation moved something in you, share it, journal it, or bring it into your next moment of love.
And remember, you're not alone. Zia's here to support your journey anytime you need her.
Until next time, stay grounded, stay open, and stay true.
With love, always.